considerations, somewhat secondary considerations, but is the topic or is the area you're thinking about something that might help you in other areas of your training, other assessments as well? So whether it's the type of, the sorts of issues that are going to be raised or the sort of skills that you're going to gain from doing this, and is your topic something that's broad enough to enable a rich, sort of stimulating project without being far too difficult to contain within a 5,000 word limit? And on the topic of containing the project, because it's quite surprising how quickly you'll churn up 5,000 words when you're doing research. As we said, the topic itself can help in containing the perimeters. I personally used my inclusion and exclusion criteria to further narrow the scope of it, so narrowing the date of searching for articles and the like meant I had a smaller sort of pool of pieces to review. I've just thrown a line in there about the sort of example of how I managed to justify, maintaining the contemporary nature of the debate, which is something we would do anyway, but you can make it even more contemporary if you want to rein your boundaries in a little bit more. I think that fourth point is a really sort of ambiguous, difficult question. How long is it actually going to take you to do the project? Well, it's sort of a case of how long is a piece of string, I suppose. From my experience, being a battler from the country, minimum of 6 months is what I would suggest, particularly when you're seeing this in the context of having to fit it around other training requirements, potentially. Yep.
Sorry, 6 months, but how many hours a week?
Yeah, probably average 10 hours a week. Well, I'm sure I was particularly slow. There may be more efficient ways to do some elements of it, but by the time you factor in effectively as one person doing your whole systematic review, it does take a lot of hours. So on average, 1 to 2 hours a day, sort of 5 days a week. So I tried to avoid having it pollute my weekends and get it done during the week. So getting up at 5, doing it before work if you have to. I think just get it over with. Yeah.
Just in saying that, I've thought of a way to decrease the workload.
Excellent.
And
please share.
If you recruit medical students to do the grunt work, and then if you publish,
absolutely.
they get their name, and it's sweet, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's entirely legitimate. Keep in mind as well that you do submit a statement to the college of who has done how much work, but I'm sure you can still maintain your position as the primary author of the work. But yeah, I think any strategies like that you can potentially use as well. And I think that when you mention publication, it's a good point. View this as something that you're not doing only for the college and your own learning, but with a view to publication. It makes helps you sort of search for meaning and your motivation, and helps, I think, pull you through the project a little bit. But I'm talking like it's the most painful thing you'll ever do, which I'm sure it's not. But if you're finding it difficult to get enthusiastic about this, those sort of things can help. And again, I think with your time frame, you do need to realistically factor in the wait for results. What if you need to resubmit? What if your timeline doesn't work out as you've planned? Again, as we gave the example, and I don't think it's cause to panic if this is your situation, but if you're coming into your last year of training and you haven't submitted a proposal or something, it's a good time to get your skates on and get moving, I think. So particularly, again, when you factor it in with OSCEs, essays, EMQ, exam, psychotherapy case, MPM, where are you going to sort of fit this in? So important consideration. And that sort of leads on to what, again, not professing to be an expert, but my recommendation would be, as soon as you've thought of an appropriate topic, question, methodology, whatever it may be, get your proposal in as soon as you can. Get the process happening. It'll help not getting stuck in that sort of avoidance cycle that we can so easily do with these sort of things. And particularly if you need ethics approval as well, that might potentially be another delay to the process. I know locally we had some trainees have significant waits for ethics approval before they could even submit a proposal. So, sort of 12-month period of waiting for ethics in college proposals. So the sooner the better to a certain extent. And just be mindful of as well that the college is still, I think, feeling their way with the logistical side of this. When I first submitted my proposal, some weeks went by, and I thought I'll just email and check that they received it, and I got a response saying, yeah, it's been approved. So you can start. And that had happened, a couple of days after I'd submitted the proposal. So getting on top of it and keeping the ball rolling is really important. And there's no sort of timeline between when you've submitted your proposal and when it's been approved. As it's not like you've only got 12 months to complete your project after it's been approved. You can sort of put it on the back burner for a while. If there's something else you want to complete or focus on, you can do that without issue. And as I've mentioned there, I think my proposal was approved about 8 or 9 months before I sort of even started doing the project. So it was kind of sitting there waiting. And like a lot of these sort of things, as time goes by, the goalposts have moved a little bit. Not a major change, but the form that you're required to do for the proposal has become just a little bit more arduous than it was originally. And history, I suppose, tells us that the standards for these sort of things will increase rather than decrease probably over time. And this is not a sales pitch, but having done psych evidence, I found really helpful before doing my scholarly project, just making sure I had a really solid understanding of basic and not so basic sort of concepts in research and statistics. I think was enormously helpful, particularly for doing a systematic review. And on that point, having done the critical appraisal section of the college exam as well, I think is a good grounding to have before doing any sort of research projects. So I would definitely recommend that as well. So that's just an example of the proposal form. There's a different form depending on whether you're doing a case series or an audit or a review or whatever it may be. But as you can see there's kind of different domains that you need to be able to satisfy in your proposal in order to be able to get your project approved. So definitely worth taking time to do this properly. You don't want to be mucking around back and forth, resubmitting proposals and those sort of things. So sit down with your supervisor and nut it out and get it right first time. I'd originally emailed my supervisor just saying, well, what do you think about this as a topic? Does it seem something that would be reasonable and helpful, and would there be enough sort of literature on this? And got an invitation, we'll come and talk about it. And then I didn't even need to ask. I was sort of offered supervision from 2 very experienced supervisors. So I think it's part of the story is taking some initiative as well and being a little bit assertive if you have to be, and kind of getting on the front foot and seeking out these sort of things. Again, it's just ripping off a Band-Aid with this. I think just get on and get it happening and get it done.